Not every player is going to be a hit, so which top flight players have let us down this season? Here is each Premier League team's most disappointing player so far this season. Arsenal SHKODRAN MUSTAFI. I mean, just look at what happened last week. Sure, Kane was offside, but what was Mustafi thinking? If he doesn't barge into the back of the England captain, Arsenal win that game. The German centre-half hasn't got any better under Unai Emery, and it gets more and more baffling that the man has a World Cup winners medal. Arsenal's defence needs to be addressed, and Mustafi can't be part of it any longer. Bournemouth Asmir Begovic. When he signed for the Cherries last season, it looked like a great piece of business, but did Begovic really envision sitting on the bench to play backup to an ancient Artur Boruc? The Bosnian made a few errors earlier in the season, then injury ruled him out of action. But since returning to fitness, Begovic hasn't been restored to the starting 11, which tells you all you need to know really. Brighton Pascal Gross. Last season the German played in every game for Brighton, scoring 7 goals and providing 8 assists, but this season hasn't been as rosy. Injuries have stunted the attacking midfielder, who at the time of recording has made just 19 appearances. And he certainly hasn't been as influential, scoring twice and grabbing 2 assists. This has been a key factor in Brighton's recent struggles. Burnley Joe Hart. Poor Joe Hart, the lad just can't catch a break, or the ball. Arriving amidst a goalkeeper crisis at Burnley, it looked like Joe Hart had a home to rebuild his career. Sadly that isn't how it's gone, and it quickly became clear that Hart's woes weren't going away. It's no surprise that Burnley's recent climb up the table has coincided with Tom Heating returning in between the sticks. Cardiff Josh Murphy. Newcastle wasted 12 million on twin brother Jacob in 2017, and looks like Cardiff have made a similar mistake. In the search for creativity following promotion, they signed other brother Josh Murphy for 11 million quid from Norwich. Now despite a few flashes of brilliance, it's fair to say he hasn't been worth the money, and the lack of creativity in a goal scorer is the reason Cardiff are locked in a relegation battle. Chelsea Kepa. This lad's had a whirlwind couple of weeks, hasn't he? He mugged off Sarri, stayed on the pitch, then made a tit of himself in the shootout. The Spaniard was drafted in as a replacement for Thibaut Courtois, costing a world record fee for a goalkeeper. But for the money spent, you'd have thought Chelsea would have got a bit more for their money. Sure, Kepa has potential and he hasn't been awful, but he's hardly the safest pair of hands around and he doesn't do what he's told. Crystal Palace Max Meyer. There was a lot of excitement when Crystal Palace signed Max Meyer on a free, but just hasn't really happened for the German. The fans love him, but Roy Hodgson doesn't, often opting to keep him on the bench. He's got all the talent to be a hit in the Premier League, but things are yet to get going at Selhurst Park. While the Eagles are a solid side, surely a player like Meyer is perfect to get the best out of the attacking talent they have. Everton Yerry Mina. Another exciting summer signing who we just haven't seen enough of. Some Everton fans are questioning whether they actually signed the Colombian. Mina was the giant at the World Cup, but fitness has derailed his debut Premier League campaign. For the money spent, Everton fans would wish they'd seen a lot more of the big centre-half, especially when you consider how shaky their defence is. Fulham Ryan Sessegnon. The teenager was the talk of the town last season, with fans amazed at what he was doing at such a young age. There were rumours of a £50 million move, a World Cup call-up, but neither happened, and instead Sessegnon has struggled to recapture his Fulham form in the Premier League. But then again, not many players have done well at Craven Cottage this season. Fortunately for Sessegnon, he's only 18, so the fact his first top flight campaign hasn't gone well isn't going to be that big an issue in the future. Huddersfield Adama Diakhaby. Nothing has gone right for Huddersfield this season, which is why they're bottom of the table. They needed a creativity, spending a decent amount of money for a club like Huddersfield on Adama Diakhaby. The forward reportedly cost around 9 million quid, but he's been a disaster. Late last year there was talk of him never playing for the club again, and fans will wish he hadn't signed in the first place. Leicester City Kelechi Iheanacho. It's his second season at Leicester, and things still haven't improved for Kelechi Iheanacho. The Nigerian was a big money signing from Man City, but has proven to be quite the flop. After just 3 goals last season, he's got just 1 so far this campaign, and he's played in more games. Iheanacho is doing his reputation no favours, proving it's a lot harder to score goals when you're not coming off the bench for City in a game they've already basically won. Liverpool Naby Keita. Considering how long it took to sign Naby Keita, he hasn't proven to be worth it at all. While Jurgen Klopp's signings tend to take a while to settle, it's taking longer than usual with Keita, it's not as if he was cheap either. The one thing Liverpool are lacking this season is a little bit of creativity from the centre of the park, which in turn is down to the lacklustre start Keita has had at Anfield. Most of Klopp's signings end up being a hit in the end. Keita will be praying he isn't remembered as the first dud. Manchester City Kevin De Bruyne. It's hard to pick a disappointing Manchester City player, to be honest. It's not like any of them have flopped. But considering how good he was last season, Kevin De Bruyne's season has been incredibly sad. It's not that he's been disappointed because he's played badly, more that he's never really played. The Belgians had injury bother all season, barely getting a string of games together before the next injury. Fair play to City for doing so well without him. Manchester United Alexis Sanchez. The Chilean's time at Old Trafford has been a disaster. A rough 6 months was followed by what was apparently an impressive pre-season, where Sanchez was looking sharp. But we never saw that form in the Premier League, and Sanchez is playing second fiddle to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's young guns. It said it all the other week when Solskjaer put on an injured Jesse Lingard ahead of Sanchez when they faced Liverpool. Newcastle United Kennedy. Fans were buzzing when he returned to St James's Park last summer after an incredible first loan spell from Chelsea, but it quickly became evident that Kennedy was for some reason no longer the same player, putting in a horrid performance against Cardiff that ended with him missing a last-minute penalty. The Brazilian hasn't recovered and now struggles to even get on Rafa Benitez's bench. Southampton Mohamed El-Yunusi. The playmaker's lack of form is probably even more disappointing when Southampton fans see how well Dusan Tadic is doing at Ajax. But while the Serbian is scoring amazing goals against Real Madrid, El-Yunusi is struggling. Despite a positive reputation for his Basel days, the Norwegian international hasn't been able to translate his form at the Premier League, with Southampton struggling to stay in the top flight once again. Tottenham HUGO LLORIS. Having lifted the World Cup with France last summer, you'd think HUGO LLORIS would be enjoying the best season of his life, but that couldn't be further from the truth. While he was sensational against Dortmund the other night, the goalkeeper has blown hot and cold all season, making some people question whether or not LLORIS is actually now a liability rather than one of the best keepers in the world. He's had a severe dip in form, and LLORIS will pray he can get back to his best before suffering a Joe Hart-style collapse. Watford Nathaniel Chalobah. Okay, I couldn't really pick a Watford player for this. No one has really disappointed so much that they've been a letdown. The players you'd expect to deliver have, and to be honest I wasn't expecting much from Adam Messina anyway. So yeah, we're going to go with Nathaniel Chalobah, mainly because he was very decent last season and injuries derailed him once again. Sorry mate. West Ham Jack Wilshere. Some will say disappointing, others will say inevitable. The spotlight was on Jack Wilshere when he finally left Arsenal. Could he kick on, or would he just prove to be a crock once again? Well, unsurprisingly it's the latter, with injury seeing the midfielder miss most of the season. To be fair, people don't want to see him injured, that's why this season has been such a disappointment for him. It was a chance at a new start for Wilshere, and it's been taken away once again because of his brittle bones. And finally Wolves Adama Traore. The speedster had a breakout year in the Championship last season, resulting in a club record move to Wolves over the summer. Fans were excited, waiting to see Adama adapt to Nuno's style with ease and take the Premier League by storm. But that's exactly what hasn't happened. Sure, he's ridiculously quick and a strong dribbler, but my word is his final ball atrocious. It was rubbish when he arrived in England, and it's still rubbish now. So that's every Premier League club's most disappointing player so far this season. Let us know yours in the comments below. Thanks for watching and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.